Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Anecdotal Leaks, the zoo school logs. Yeah, let's get it. So you sure already know by now, Mr. Vasquez, Christopher Vasquez, and what I'm going to start sharing with you will be on this channel, will be linked on Twitter, will also be linked on Facebook. So I'm going to give you the blueprint of all the content and all the information that I will be sharing in the later episodes and how that framework is going to go. Okay? So I'm going to have every other episode with a reading from an anecdotal log that was posted since 2013 to 2016-17. A random one. That anecdotal log, I assure you, that student or that situation was never resolved or never suspended or was unofficially suspended. What I mean by unofficially suspended, that means that one of the deans or the administrators said, just go home, stay home for a day or two, and then come back to school. So you won't find an ORS report, and there was no ORS report ever made. And if you look at the NLDOE, the New York City DOE site, you could see that the number of suspensions are only 1% of the population, only 6%, 6 students out of the whole year, when there's at least 4,000 pages of anecdotal behavior logs and D referrals on scheduler. But that's what's going to happen every other episode. And then every other episode is going to showcase some information with empirical verification, straight facts that could be found on any site besides anecdotal logs and the Regents. But I have copies of the Regent stuff that were tossed away from the garbage into the garbage, so we'll get into that. Besides the recordings and the teachers that were there and the 13 students that were there. So let's go into the skeleton, the blueprint of what the episode formats and the information I'll be covering. So the first things first is, as you see to, I don't know, my right, no, my left, scheduler, they changed the name sometime in the middle of October. I don't know why. I will only assume why. I'm going to make a hypothesis why. So they're not known as scheduler no more. It's now known across the DOE as IO Classroom, formerly known as scheduler. This is the new system. Okay. We're going to cover scheduler in the IO Classroom. We're going to talk about the data there, the data that's on the reports in the New York City DOE about suspensions and school violence. We're going to talk about and have readings directly from the anecdotal logs. Of course, I won't mention any students' names. We're going to talk about how the data is hidden. We're going to talk about some ORS reports and how teachers requested these numbers and how the numbers don't correlate with what's been reported on both ends. We're going to have other episodes focusing on article analysis, talking about truth versus fiction. We're going to look at New York City DOE reports. And I'm going to try to show you and help you read these suspension reports, because sometimes looking at all these numbers and all these different links, it becomes very troublesome, and it's like, what's going on? It can be very hard. But the data is there to show you how, and I will teach you how you can see and correlate the data and see where it's being misled at, where they're changing it at. Well, these are some examples of the reports we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at all the way from 2017, October 30th, to 2013. Okay. Some issues that we're going to talk about. I read in an article on Chalkbeat that there were no red flags, the chancellor said. It was quoted in quite a few different articles. Let me get a cup of my glass, sip of my yak. I'm going to show you where all the red flags are at. Besides the surveys, every news article is linking surveys. There's more to it than just surveys. And I think they don't just, we'll get into that. That's another episode. We're going to talk about the teachers, the deans, and how students were forced to deal with unsafe environments established by the administrators in the New York City DOE and in wildlife. We're going to talk about how you could see on the New York City DOE site how you could connect the data whenever a student was unofficially suspended. I'm going to teach you how to do that. We're going to talk about how the students were being bullied, how parents and teachers were asking for help at wildlife, but were not getting it. We were just, told to put the reports in scheduler and they act upon it. Most of the 99.9% of those reports on scheduler till this day, well, until IO Classroom was purged. So they don't have the sources, they don't have the information there, but I have it because I have the information. I printed everything out. It's still awaiting resolution. I believe and I feel every time that we did put things on scheduler, we were told by the administrators to don't worry about it, then take care of it, and hopefully in a day or two we'll forget about it and that's it, because we're just so overwhelmed with other things that we never really got a chance to follow up. And when we did follow up, it was like, oh, we're still working on it. Wildlife, where were the red flags? We'll point out to the red flags. We're going to talk about the lack of accountability under Pichardo and Jacobo's tenure in Urban Assembly Wildlife in Bronx, New York. We're going to talk about the systematic removal of administrators such as Latia Primus and TJ. We're going to talk about the systemic removal of teachers and other support staff such as guidance counselors, such as college counselors, such as technicians, IP guys, and various other staff members and ATRs, the whole list. There was 40 plus individuals that were pushed out. Well, we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Astrid Jacobo, her tenure there, what she established, and look at her record of success, if there is any. We're going to talk about reasons why Astrid Jacobo wasn't fired and how the CSA and the ADASA are protecting her, and how they took her out Urban Assembly Wildlife and reassigned her under Bronx Support Field Staff, and how that is just actually an extension of the CSA, which is like a joint program between the CSA and the New York DOE. And we'll get into more details. That we're going to look at profiles of individuals that started out as teachers and principals, and through the ADASA got promoted and moved along into high-ranking positions in the CSA, high-ranking positions in the New York City DOE, and the PEP committees, positions such as superintendents. It's a lot there, and it's all connected, and you can see there's a lot of influence coming from Jacobo's family there. We'll get into all those details and even details on the state level, not just the city DOE level. That was a lot of work. So again, you guys, I wasn't on Facebook for a while posting videos and stuff because I was too busy trying to collect all this information and data so I can share with everyone. We're going to talk again article analysis, fact versus fiction, with evidence. We're going to talk about how Pichardo drew away students' Regents test scores, their scorecards, their bubble sheets, the evidence that supports that. Now here's a picture of scheduler, IO Classroom. You can see my login information there. There's no one's hacking the system. There's my login information there. There's one of the dates I took this data off. There were 3 regions listed. I have the marks of the other regions, and then For some reason, this Regents here, the student was marked absent. I'm going to get into details how the student was there. They did take the Regents. They did sign, the attendance log when they entered the room and when they leave the room. But somehow they were marked absent and their Regent sheet is missing. I found the Regent sheet when I gave it to Pichardo. He ripped it and then it ended in the trash. I have all the students' schedule information showing that. You could correlate that if someone wants to investigate it and find that. But we get into more details later. We'll talk about the teachers and the students in the room also, and the video. We'll do a nice little segment on that. We're going to talk about how this gentleman here, Frank, is now in Urban Assembly Wildlife, suspending students left and right. The only reason why he's there is to close the school. He's not there to support the staff. He's not there to care for the students. He has one goal, and that's to close the school. Okay? So don't be fooled. He's suspending students left and right. He's telling students that, look, I don't want you in my school. Every time you walk in through the door, I'm going to suspend you. You go to Job Corps. That's not how you get someone motivated to go to Job Corps. We'll go into details on that. Okay?
Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm. Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm. Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm. Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm. Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
Hey! I'm still in the DOE working. Principal's got fired.
Move your arm, move your arm.
Oh, principal's got fired for having sex with staff members. Smoking. For hitting kids.
Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
This principal scored on someone just like this. Wait,
move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
Jacobo! Hey! So, more episodes will be posted.
Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
Alright, you can see I want to edit this video with their hands on reaching scores.
Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
Trash can, dancing over like blood, and like stuff, dancing over observation days, different teachers and effective giving them this
Move your arm, move your arm, move your arm.
we're going to edit that.